Thank you very much for joining me on my first video. Your support was excellent. Keep on like and subscribe this channel. I'm your granny, and you are watching Grandma Meteorology. I want to dive into something that you may have heard of, the possibility of tropical development. We've talked about this together, a possibility of tropical development in the Caribbean. But I know some of the other YouTube channels are really latching onto this, so I want to show you everything I'm seeing out of this to kind of let you know exactly what could happen down the road. Now let me just take you way out in time. This is the American model, the GFS models. So this is what I want to begin with, then I'll get to the flood potential. Here's a look at Wednesday of next week, so I'm taking you out in time. You see here we're looking okay, watching areas of rain. Hopefully we get some rain in the Eastern Caribbean. This is deep into next week. Now this model, once you get past 10 days almost, always shows some sort of hurricane spitting up this time of year. That's just how this model works. As it goes out in time, it becomes less reliable. So this is kind of an image we've been seeing quite a bit on YouTube, social media as a whole, showing that by the time we get into next weekend, which is way down the road, that there could be a tropical storm, potentially a hurricane, bubbling up in the Western Caribbean. So I wanted to address this again. This model almost always shows something way out in time that looks kind of scary. Most of the time it does not happen. Now with that said, this area has been kind of a hot spot. That's why the last few videos we've been talking about together how there could be some development here. Is it going to look like that? Maybe not. Probably not, but this area is kind of a hot spot for development. We've seen a lot of rain this time of year, so that's probably why the computer model is latching onto that. So let me show you this. This is the European model. Now the European model, this is the area. Here's the Caribbean, here's the Gulf of Mexico, here's the Atlantic, Bahamas. You get over toward Florida, Trinidad, and Tobago. The European model does not show this type of development. There's a million models out there. This time of year you could always find one that spins out a hurricane down the road, or you could find one that doesn't. But the European model, pretty reliable model. What watching this area and here does show by the time we get deeper into next week. This is by early next week, little buildup of some moisture here, so it is hinting at some moisture. Let me take you out on time even more. So this is by the time we get into late and next week into next weekend. So the same time frame I showed you that the American model had. Now what does grab my attention out of this, it is not showing a tropical storm, a hurricane at this point. We'll see what happens as we go out in time, but by next weekend it does show what I was kind of thinking over the last few days, a buildup of moisture in here. Now sometimes this moisture actually may be on the flip side. It may end up over here on the Pacific side. Sometimes it could end up on the Caribbean side. So wait and see. But we've got two major models, one showing something a little crazier, one showing development, and then the other model, the European model, showing at least some areas of high intensity rain. So it is a spot to watch. The Western Caribbean is a spot to watch for the potential of development sometime late night next week into next week. And way down the road I got you covered on this as we go through the hurricane season. That's why I appreciate you sharing the channel. Now another thing I'm watching out for, again, it's not just the models. I look at everything going on. Here's a look at some of the water temperatures. They are crazy warm for this time of year in the Central and Western Caribbean, and really across the Atlantic basin as a whole. Now we're looking at 29-30 degrees. This is Celsius. That's about 90 degrees Fahrenheit. It is plenty warm for something to develop. It is actually super warm.